Okay.
Maybe if I do
smallest?
Oh
no.
Like that. That works.
Yeah, but there's something missing from your brush. Let me see how mine. Okay, see what's checked on mine? Brush names, brush stroke.
Let's see, brush name, brush stroke. How come I don't have that? That's so weird. I don't have any of that.
Do you have what version are you using?
I'm using CS6.
Ah, so you're not gonna. It's not the same version.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little different. So in order to find your brushes, you need to go back to where it says brush settings, and they're going to be sitting in that. Going to be sitting in that box right there, and it's going to be a little more tougher. Those are the settings for the actual brush, and you're looking for one that is an ellipse, so it's going to be this shape.
I see. I'm sorry, I'm keeping everyone.
No, this is good. Once we get you set up.
So in your version, Moshi, there's like a search thingy on the brush sets.
Yeah, weirdly there isn't a search option. I just kind of dragged it and it was just like, well, here it is somewhere in here.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to look for it because those are the standard. It should be at the bottom technically, but
aren't they organized by folders?
Holy shit, this is so annoying.
That's the newer version of Photoshop is in the folders.
Oh, it wasn't like
and the newer version allows you to make your own folders and put your brushes in it. And
sorry, what was the name? Hard ellipse, right?
Yeah, hard ellipse number 40.
Hard round, soft round.
Elliptical. It's hard elliptical.
It's Willow.
Yeah.
She really loves me. She's all around the internet.
I think I'll find it inevitably, just because I just need to scroll through it.
Like, yeah, don't worry about it, Moshi. I don't know about everyone else, but I got all night.
Me too.
And I am very patient. And I would rather you find it so we can play than you not find it. Yeah. And so please don't feel guilty in any way or form.
What's it called? Hard
elliptical 40.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just like one of those people when I first got Photoshop. I'm just like, I'm going to take a pack from here, from here, from here. So I just have like 50 brush packs that I never touch.
Oh my God. I am the same way, Moshi. If you look at my list on the side here, there is like maybe 600 brushes in here, and I use about 6 of them.
Oh, I found hard elliptical, right?
Hard elliptical number 40. Yep. It looks like you got it doubled in there. There it is.
Yeah, I got 2 of them. One's like more crooked than the other.
Okay, so make it very big so I can see it. That's it. That's my brush.
Awesome.
Yeah,
cool. Thank you.
It's awesome brush. Now let's start setting it up so we can make it feel like a pencil. And I will.
Wait, Alan, I have a question. I have hard elliptical, like 3 versions, 1, 2, and 3. Does it make a difference?
That means you put in 3 different copies of the same brush.
Okay.
So when you were downloading it, you downloaded it 3 times.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for some reason I have like 3 different versions too, but some of them are slanted differently than others for whatever reason.
Well, I can show you what that is for, guys, but you don't have to. You can only have one brush. See, when I went into brush settings, do you see this this thing right here?
Yes.
You can make it changes what the brush does when it hits the paper. Yeah. So that's if those brushes are set up differently, that's what they changed in it. Okay, now let's make this into a pencil. All right, so on our color palette, and why I'm going to tell you guys to start using this palette instead of the triangle, and you guys know how to set up your color palettes, right? So see if you can get one that looks like that. And yeah, and your version of Photoshop probably isn't going to have a palette. you're going to have to keep clicking on, you see that little square on the left-hand side? Yeah, that's exactly what you want. And because yours is an older version, it's not going to give you the same palette that this one has.
I see.
Okay. So I am going to stop watching. And so everybody else who has a newer version, make sure you have a palette like this. And I'm going to start explaining why I want you to do that. On here is value. And the three most important things in a painting are composition, value, and contrast, in that order. So if you get those three things right, all your paintings will turn out fabulous. So value, because it's number 2, this is why this palette is perfect for it, because up and down this bar right here is your grayscale value. And as you move further down, you would be limiting yourself to how much of the value you were getting in actual colors. Make sense?
Yeah.
That's why I use this one. So if you want to get a pencil, move your ball or your color picker down to about here in the gray. Okay. And then we take the opacity and we turn it down to about 80%. And you can play with that setting off and on until it feels right for you. But this is why I do this. Because you know when you're using a pencil and you go over a line, it slowly gets darker? Well, if you set up the pencil and that brush in this way, you will end up that every time you go over, it gets a little darker. And as you start pulling away from it, it starts feeling like a pencil. And I'm going to show you guys exactly what I mean. So I'm going to pop that down. I'm going to pop this open, and I'm going to pop up a piece of work. And you guys seen it when I did it for the Inktober. So I'll show you the one that looks like pencil again. Let me see if I can actually find it.
Sorry to make you repeat yourself, but you mentioned that like the 3 principles were composition, value, and something else?
Contrast.
Thank you.
Okay, so if you want to achieve that sort of drawing and that sort of feel, that's the way you use that brush. And this was all done with this brush.
Holy shit.
Okay, so, and it feels just like a pencil. Okay?
Yep.
That's cool. Yeah. So, you guys practicing with me? Can you guys get yours to feel like this?
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, and it'll start feeling very, very natural. And this is almost the color of newsprint. And this is your pencil. And now we can actually start sketching and drawing. And if you guys, okay, I'm going to tell you some pitfalls. Photoshop. If you use a soft elliptical round brush, do you know what that does? Everything gets fuzzy around the edges and it looks like it's in the background, and everything will start looking like plastic. And you want to stay away from that. That's why the hard elliptical edge is great, because it feels like a pencil. I can see all you guys drawing and sketching away and trying it out. It's going to improve your drawing like 100-fold. Yeah, and you'll be doing pencil work like that in no time. Okay. So let us move. Let me guys let me know when it feels good, and ask questions and say, Alan, I can't get mine to work that way. Is there anything else I need to do?
I was just wondering if we had to keep it in like the current elliptical shape that it's at right now.
No. What you should do is make it feel like a pencil for you. I just showed you the settings that feel good for me. So now you understand how a pencil works. It's like the reason why the pencil is set up this way is because you will never achieve a black with a pencil, right? You will only achieve, if you're using a Mars lithograph black, you will achieve a number 9 in the value scale. And if you don't turn down the opacity in your pencil, it will just give you a black line like a marker all the time. So it will never actually feel like a pencil. And if you can find something that feels like your favorite pencil, then you're good.
Yeah, that was my issue with digital painting in general. When it came to the sketching phase, I was just resorting to a marker because like I could never get like this feel that I'm having right now.
Which is, and it's awesome, isn't it? It's like somebody should just take you guys aside and say, look, digital can actually feel like traditional, and it can start feeling like it's never going to feel exactly like you're drawing on paper, but you can get it close.
Like if you check my screen, I can show you like the type of stuff I would do usually, because I use Clip, right? So I would just usually I would just go to here and I would have this flat marker and I would just settle with these lines.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's how I would be doing things.
Oh, you should have came to me a year ago or 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Oh my God. That's so painful because it feels so graphic, right? And that's not you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not you.
Yeah, this is a brush I got recently, which I really like. It's actually helped me do this. As well as this one. They're like rougher pencil brushes, which are similar, but they still do the thing that you said where it's like they just hit that like that black, which is something.
And the only way to make it feel like a pencil is you can take one of those and turn down the opacity on the brush, and then don't go to black. Make sure your palette is somewhere around number 9 in value scale.
Yeah. I just find with Clip, for some reason, you can't really mess with the opacity of the brush.
Yeah, you can. You can. And when we move into Clip Studio, I will show you how to set up your brushes. Mm-hmm. And there is a setting in the brushes that you can apply opacity to the brush.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it, yeah.
Yeah, it's there, but it is, how do you put it, painstakingly hard to find.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which makes it really, really awful. Okay. Now that we have our brushes set up, let's do a little bit of painting. Okay. So I'm going to zoom in on here and I'm going to start explaining instead of you guys doing, because I understand, and Wilfred was telling me that you guys use the, what do you call it? The lasso tool. Now, the lasso tool is not really a paint tool. It is used for, it is used for a hard edge. And there is places for it, but it's not really painting. It's more like you cut something out and you add color to it. And it's so, how would you put it? Like painting cells on animation. It's not really painting. So let's do some painting, and let's do it all in the grayscale because grayscale is fun. Let's do a ball, and we will start lighting it. Okay, so light it with your new friend, the pencil. Okay, and give it a shadow. And we're just going to quickly draw this, and I'll show you some real cool stuff. And then I'm going to put a shadow on the side. And we're not going to go into any super detail, but I'm going to show you guys what exactly we want to do. The cool thing about this brush too is that it'll also give you a texture. And it really does feel like a pencil. Notice how I am moving my value scale when I'm painting my ball too. I was moving it up and down on here. Okay. So once you guys get to there, what we're going to do is we're going to pop a layer on top of it. And we're going to take a blue and we're going to paint this ball blue. And I'll show you how. Now, you guys have all used oil paint, right?
Yeah.
And you guys have, like, oil paint is really, really fun. So what the oil paint has that makes it so fabulous is that you can thin it down with the linseed oil, and you can use the other thinner, the turpentine, and you can make washes with it, just like watercolor. So the cool thing about painting, yeah, you totally can. Oh my God, I should show you some of my early illustration work, because a lot of the style of the time was the pencil, and then you would take washes with oil over top of it, and it would be transparent, and the pencil would show up underneath. So you have these really, really cool pencil drawings with oil colors that were so vibrant that were coming out of the painting. So,
that's amazing.
It is, and it's so fun. So I am going to turn my opacity down on that very same brush down to about 20%. And I am going to take the color blue, and I am going to make my brush nice and big, and I'm just going to put like a watercolor transparent wash over top, very, very lightly. And I'm not really caring if I go outside the lines, because I'm still drawing and I'm still painting, right? And you will notice something really cool that starts happening, because now you're no longer cutting something out and dropping color on top of it. You're now working like oil paint, and you're building up the layers. And what happens when you do this is that everything that shows, every time you do a brush stroke over top, the color does get just a little darker, but it also creates this layering effect that you can see the transparency underneath, and gives your drawing and your painting depth. And that's why we're coloring it on gray, because if we didn't color it on gray, the white would show up underneath. So give that a try, guys, and you can see how when you're coloring something, you're now, I've stopped you from just coloring it, and now we're actually painting. How does it feel, guys? Good?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels, does that feel more like traditional?
A lot more.
Mm-hmm.
That does.
See, because now we have stopped doing that lasso thing, and we have now started working in paint, which is super awesome. And then you can start, because we use gray in behind, when we start adding the white highlights on this ball, it's really going to start showing up. Yeah. And that's all because you're playing with the opacity. And when I'm drawing and painting, I will never turn my brush up to 100% unless it really, really calls for it and I need a really, really black, dark line or something. It's always going to be at around 90%. It's my phone. It's going to turn it off. There, so far so good? Okay. So far, does anybody have any questions?
No, no questions.
Cool. So you guys are absorbing this, you guys are getting this, and this is the beginning of you guys taking all those lessons that you did with Scott and all those lessons that you did with Roxalana and taking all that paint and all those beautiful watercolors you did for me and now being able to make them in Photoshop. Okay, so let's start explaining a little bit more about the process of how I paint stuff. And it all depends on whether I am going to paint like a whole great big scene or I'm doing a character sketch. Now, I'm going to show you guys, and you guys seen me pop this up in the Inktober as well. And I'm going to explain the whole process here. Okay, so now we have...
Oh, yes, I love that one.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm painting with shapes. And what I'm going to show you is how to draw either landscapes or figures by making the shape language first and the gesture, and then slowly adding the detail over top. So we're going to get the pose with the gesture and the shape language and the silhouette, and then we're going to build it up into a solid figure, right? Slowly, like this. Okay, so you guys, and what we're also going to do is I'm going to show you how to do this. And this is going to help you guys because you guys already know how to do this. And when you do your comps for like Kent and everyone else, doing them in Photoshop and pulling them up and painting them is going to be so much easier for you, okay? Because you can take one of these and then turn it into this.
Oh.
Okay, because it is simple as doing these little comps like this and then pulling them up and making that. That is not as hard. These are harder to do than that is. And I know you guys don't believe me, but it's true because remember the first rules I gave you, and that was composition, value, and contrast. So let's make one and let's do this together. Okay, you guys ready? We are going to zoom in. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys how to set up your page. So what I do over here, and this is a newer version of Photoshop, so I don't know what version you guys are using, but you can see on my screen that I have 40 centimeters by 40 centimeters. My resolution is 400 pixels per inch. And when it's the background contents, you click on that and you change the color value. So you can change it to gray. That way, every time you open Photoshop, when you go to draw, you'll have your newsprint pad. So I'll leave that open so you guys can see that, and I will grab my coffee. Okay. So you guys cool with that? You guys know how to set this up, or do you have questions?
Yeah, just for my old version, for background contents, there's only white background color and transparent.
So what you're going to have to do is when you open up a piece of paper, and I'll close this right now, and I will go to new, and I'll open up a piece of paper. So now you have a piece of paper. So you have your palette sitting over here. So what I would do is right about here in the value scale. And here's what you have to think about. If you want to create something that's warm or cold, you should use a warm or a cold background to create it with. So right now, because this is blue, of course it's going to be cold. And I will move it to about here, and I will take the pail and I will fill up the background. And it will fill the whole sheet. Then put a layer on top of it, and you now have a drawing paper that feels like newsprint. Okay?
Yep.
All right. So now that you guys are all set up with your paper and we're all set up with our brush, what we're going to do is we're going to create a small little comp. So I'm going to put a selection, and I use the tool that's sitting right over here, the rectangular marquee tool, or you can just press M on your keyboard. And then we're going to zoom in, and we're going to grab our brush, and we're all going to create what we love to do when we're doing comics, or when we're doing concept art, or when we're just painting a painting for fun. We're going to take the darkest dark, and we're going to go to the bottom of this palette right here, and everything is going to appear in our foreground. We're going to paint that really dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a valley with maybe a forest or something. And I am going to take my brush, and notice the opacity is at 70% or 90% or 80%, whatever you feel comfortable with. And I am just going to make my brush super huge and going to paint whatever shape I want in the foreground. And I'm just going to go crazy. So once you have something like that, there are two things you can do. You can take this shape, and you can take the eraser, and generally I will grab a square brush, and I use the hard square number 24 with the pixels, and it gives me some really cool stuff when I start erasing with it. So your eraser, okay, maybe I should explain. Your eraser can also be used as a paintbrush. And what I've done with my eraser is that I've turned the opacity down on the eraser as well, so that when I go to erase sections of black, it turns into gray.
So what do you set your eraser as?
I set my eraser the opacity at about 40%, and I make my brush for my eraser a square brush.
Square? Okay.
That way I can get some cool hard edges going on. So that's one way to paint with it. And now I'm going to go back to the brush. And for the next tone, I'm going to put in, okay, I'll say this slowly. I'm going to put a layer on top, and then I'm going to grab that layer and put it beneath that black. Okay? Everybody following? And then I'm going to get the mid-tone, and I'm going to move my palette to there. And now everything I'm going to draw on that layer is going to be what's ever going to happen in the mid-tone. And even though I'm going over the black at the bottom, it's not touching the black. So I am making another little valley thing. And I think that I should grab more black and go to the layer on top.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why do you begin from foreground to background and not the other way around? Just curious.
Because what's ever closest to me is generally what's most important to the composition. What's ever farthest away from me is usually just serving as a prop or a background. So it's usually going to be clouds or a valley. And what's in the midground is serving as a, say I had a character, and it's serving as the environment the character is in. So what's really, really important is what's closest to us, because that's what we're going to see first. So that's why I established the foreground first. So if you were thinking of it as comics and you had two people talking, they would be the ones that were up close to you, and you would draw them first in black. So we would create those, let's say we were drawing some people here, and we would create those as a black silhouette in the foreground. Does that make sense? Because they are the important things in the composition. Okay, that's why I think of it foreground first, midground, and then background. It's in relevance of importance to me.
So you make a separate layer for the midground?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I am going to take one last layer, and I am going to go background. And I'm going to go about here, and I am going to create whatever I want in the background. Say clouds are maybe a little bit more of the valley. And as long as it's compositionally okay, then we're fine. So basically what we've done is we've created a composition. So far, so good? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, if you want to get them looking like this, what I was doing is I would take, see these are taking different types